So Rebecca thinks she's getting out of here tonight. And like, this is her swan song, and she's not going to be working on this stuff anymore. Not so fast. And you are a very hard act to follow. And I've worked with you for, I don't know, 9 months maybe. And I have my way of doing things, and Rebecca sort of let me do my thing. And I was very grateful for that, because how many times did I try and quit? There were a number of times she talked me off ledge. Those of you who know me, and I think probably everybody in the room has at least Googled me once to find out who this person is going to be the next president. You know that I'm not terribly nonpartisan. I've been a partisan person all my life. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I am stepping into something that is nonpartisan, and why it means a lot to me to do that. My childhood was one big civics lesson. I've been going to voting booths since I was 2, when I went in with my father so he could vote for himself. As soon as I was old enough to sit still and pay attention, I went onto the floor of the House to listen to debates and to hear him vote. And I was awed by it then, and I am still awed by it now, though sometimes awed isn't the right word. In the 60s, in 1960 actually, my father ran Kennedy's voter registration and get out the vote drive. And we spent that summer traveling around the country setting up offices. Kennedy was elected by a margin of 112,827 votes. Who was counting? Everybody was counting, but not counting like they counted this time. I guess you could say his work paid off. I went to the Kennedy Library in Boston and sat in the room and looked at the campaign and looked at how close the contest was and where the electoral college votes came in. And the fact that it was that close, it could have been a very different election, very different election. This election was not close. Anyway, that experience, that whole experience had a big impact on me. My whole childhood had a big impact on me, but every night we watched, my father came home from the office by 7 o'clock every night to watch Walter. And we would all watch the news, and then we would all sit down at the dinner table, and there would be discussions about what was going on in the news. And there would be debates. We often disagreed, we frequently disagreed, surprisingly disagreed quite a bit. So when I got to high school, it seemed sort of natural to join the debate team. My debate teammate was Jack Ford, who was Gerald Ford's son, and who had the same kind of upbringing I did. You know, he was inculcated in whatever the Gerald Ford, he was a really sweet guy, by the way. Anyway, so they had their conversations and we had our conversations, and Jack and I learned to practice against each other, and we traded sides and we sparred, but we learned to listen to each other. And because fundamentally, basically, we weren't really that far apart. In those days, it was okay to have friendships that, despite political differences. I still have many of those friends, and we still have political differences. I went to Robert E. Lee Elementary School. It was segregated until 1965. My 8th grade year was the first year Alexandria was desegregated, and it was quite an experience. And a lot of those people, like Savannans, have, you know, sort of entrenched ideas about what they believed just because of the way they grew up. But we were friends, and we agreed to disagree on things. And you know, frankly, we're still not that far apart on the fundamental issues. It just seems that way. So when I went to college, I went up north. I went to Rutgers because, you know, it was in-state tuition, and it was where my father said I should go. So and he also said that I should get involved in local politics, so I did. And the first time I voted, I went into a voting booth for the New Jersey primary, and I voted for myself to be a delegate to the 1972 convention. And I was one of 4 teenagers there. It was quite the experience to be on the same delegation with Shirley MacLaine and meet her brother and see all the, I mean, it was Ramsey Clark and all the people that were there. It was pretty incredible. And my father was not there. I was representing the Thompson family. But I went back to school and I went back to life and I got married in San Francisco and I went into something else because newspaper reporting didn't pay enough money. In 1968, I had a 1-year-old daughter and Congress was going to vote to extend the ratification of the ERA. And I dipped my toe back in and I led 75 congressional children to lobby our parents to support the resolution. There was only one female member of Congress at that in that delegation. It was Lindy Boggs. It passed. They extended it. And I met Phyllis Schlafly that day. And I realized that politics was getting very ugly. This person, this woman, this powerhouse of a human being was saying that passing the ERA meant that we'd have to share bathrooms and women would be drafted. And I sort of said, well, I'd be drafted. I mean, you know, we should all be drafted. Everybody should be drafted. She and I didn't agree rather. We certainly disagreed. I couldn't watch the television show. I understand it was very good. When the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965, my father was a sponsor. His best friend in Congress was a far-right conservative from Ohio. He was a sponsor too. There were many things they disagreed about, but voting rights wasn't one of them. After the act passed, reauthorization happened as a matter of course. First Nixon did it, then Ford, then Reagan signed it. Section 5 was extended in 2006 via a vote in the Senate of 98-2. Think about that, 98-2. Then came 2013 and Shelby versus Holder and the undoing of Section 4, which, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in her dissent, was like tossing out the umbrella in a rainstorm just because you're not getting wet. Times had changed. Voting rights had become the new gerrymander, a way to assure one party's domination. Politicized, which takes me back to why I'm doing this, because I know my father would want me to do everything I can to make sure every single person who can vote votes, regardless of party affiliation. This is why I agreed to do this and become president of this. And we all had a conversation about it. Rebecca said, well, maybe I could be the nonpartisan person and, you know, you could just be in the background. But democracy is something that's ongoing all the time and we can't let this go. And it isn't partisan. It really isn't. Voting rights is not. Voting is partisan. Voting rights is not. We all pick a candidate when we go into the voting booth. We all vote for whomever we want. We may talk to our friends and argue with our friends about it, but it's a private decision that we make inside a voting booth. It's up to us to get people there. As of today, the John Lewis We the People Act, S1, HR 1, has 0 support in the Senate, 0. It was 98-2 the last time. Georgia, Texas, and Florida have enacted restrictive voter laws, one more restrictive than the next. Governor DeSantis went so far as to sign the bill on Fox. You don't get more partisan than that. And these bills have been passed despite Attorney General Barr saying that 2020 was the most secure election in US history. These laws mean that you can't give water to someone waiting hours in the heat to vote, but you can give money to a PAC that's going to buy attack ads. You can't have video monitored drop boxes. I take this one really personal. You can't have video monitored drop boxes outside, but you can drop an absentee ballot into an unattended mailbox. You can't raise money to help a cash-strapped county like Chatham County buy drop boxes like we did. but you can donate to rebuild a park or a playground. So getting people out to vote is what we do, is what I spent a lot of time this fall doing, and what I am hoping we all start doing right now, right this minute, because as we speak, the Secretary of State is expunging voters from the rolls. We need to make sure that those voters are legitimately erased, not indiscriminately erased. And discrimination is a big part of it, as we know. So, as Rebecca said, there's a team of us who are sort of nascent. We're having fun conversations about all the possibilities that there are. There are 161 members of the league here in Chatham County and in Bryan County, and a little bit here and there elsewhere. We're going to have to expand this and work with fair districts. As Cuffy is going, just a little applause for Cuffy. She is going to be the communication director for fair districts. We are going to work very closely with her. You can even sign up for a postcard program to send postcards to. They'll give you 35 legislators, 36 postcards, so you get an opportunity not to do something right. And anyway, she's going to email Cuffy to, the only thing that's needed is postage, and we have money to pay for postage if anybody has a problem with that. So, and how many? Unlimited number of postcards? Unlimited number of postcards. We're gonna fill them out now and send them out when they say drop. Okay. Sarah Denmark will continue the great work, Chris Parks and the voter services team with registering newly eligible voters. That's those kids in high school that are coming up to being 18. Just before they turn 18, they can register to vote. Some people think when you turn 16, you get your driver's license. When you get your driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote. This is not the case. You have to go and register to vote. So there's a lot of education that we need to do about that. Kids, we need kids involved in this. We need young people involved in this. I look around this room, I see Edna. I don't see a representation of Chatham County in this room. I don't see it age-wise. I don't see any Asian women or men. I only see 2 men, and one of whom is my husband. 3 men. Maybe 4. Okay, they're 4. I'm sorry. But we are not demographically diverse in this room. We need to work on that. Rosemary Mackey is going to be working, and Sarah are going to be working with local hospitals to get Vote ER off the ground. And these are people who are constant visitors to emergency rooms and to health clinics who don't have access to health care, who need to register to vote and help us change that. We're going to enlist, and we have already had conversations with partners like the Junior League to do day and done voter registration drives here, and hopefully all the way down to Brunswick, because we are the League of Women Voters of coastal Georgia, not Chatham County. So that means from here to St. Simon, we need to engage people up and down. And if anybody in this room knows people who live in Brunswick or anywhere along the coast, we need to organize and get women involved up and down the coast. Beth Orford will be working to bring new members into the fold, so this is like her job. She can do anything, so I absolutely feel that this is totally in great hands. Because we need enough volunteers to man every voter registration table and write every postcard Cuffy can send us and canvass every neighborhood, hang those door hangers, put up the signs, make the telephone calls, look at the voter rolls to make people aren't being expunged illegally. And I that may be too strong a word to say illegally. I mean, maybe that's something that Fair Fight says instead of Fair Districts, but I do think that, there's a reason people are being erased. Blake Caldwell will do outreach to organizations that support causes the league endorses, and this is not just our league, this is the state league and the national league, like healthcare access in particular. That's Blake's specialty. Them to sign petitions and go to rallies. So Cuffy has taken another huge project on, and that is that she will be working with Delta Sigma Theta and the Savannah Tribune to bring Savannah's first Black suffragette, as we all know from the presentation that Velma Thomas gave. Mamie George Williams was an amazing human being, and she needs to have a marker that attests to how amazing she was. And gets the recognition she deserves. We'll all be working to strengthen our relationship with state and national leagues, because it is through them that we advocate for voting rights and the end of gerrymandering. We give a lot of our dues to the state and to the National League. We get a lot back from that. Atlanta's 4 hours from here. It's hard for us to lobby. We can register voters, we can get out the vote, but we can't change minds in Atlanta if we're not there. That's what the state does. We can't change minds in Washington if we're not there. That's what the National League does. And they have the clout to enter into lawsuits that we couldn't possibly pay for. So, we only keep $20 of the dues. And even that, we're having conversations about whether we really need to keep anything here, whether or not we can just raise money, as I know we can, for Get Out the Vote initiatives. And if we can cut the membership fee a little bit, maybe more people can afford to become members. We'll have a conversation about that, because I'd like maybe we'll do a voter survey and membership survey to find out how you all feel about whether the cost of membership is too high and whether it makes a difference. This fall, we'll be doing, as Rebecca said, candidate forums and updating Voter 411. And Cuffy has said she's willing to do this, but Cuffy needs to go on and do her other thing she does. She spreads herself so thin. But I know we have people here who are capable of doing that, or capable of doing exactly what it is that Cuffy has done so well for the past 4 years. And she's willing to train. So that could be your job. We just have to keep everybody on the straight and narrow everywhere. And the way we do that is by making phone calls, sending postcards, signing petitions, asking people to vote, getting your friends to be members, telling them there's a reason to be a member, that we actually do things that are important. The most important, keeping democracy going. And really, we're not a democracy. It was never set up as a democracy. It was set up that white men could vote. We're working on making that. Maybe we'll even get the Equal Rights Amendment passed. We have a lot of work to do. And I know everybody in this room is going to help all of us do it. I'm not one person, I'm all of you. We all work together. We all need each other to do this. Thank you.